So your boss won't tell you this, but you need to hear this. See, what happens in life is the way that wealth is produced. Typically, the majority, the bulk of wealth in an enterprise, in a business, goes to the person that's taking the most financial risk. Okay, so this is just something that you need to understand, and hopefully, when you understand this, you will come to understand why you need to have some kind of plan for wealth building outside of just your job. Because what happens in a job is that um, you're easy to replace, right? Like, suppose like you're a copywriter. This is something that I myself do. I've helped a lot of businesses with copywriting. Or you could be doing software development, again, something that I've done. Or you could be doing graphic design, or you might even be a line cook at a restaurant, or a parking attendant or something like that. All kinds of jobs. But what happens is when you are working at that kind of level, you're pretty easy to replace, right? Like, if you walk away from the job, the boss can just put out a notice, and hopefully within a week they can have 10 other applicants or more, and within a week they might have replaced you. So your role as somebody that's working a job is something that's fairly easy to replace. And when you turn up to the job, you are not expected to put up any capital, so you don't have to take that risk. You are not expected to work for free in a lot of jobs anyway. So you're not taking like a financial risk that you're not gonna be paid. Instead, the deal is you're actually gonna be getting a guaranteed salary every month. So in other words, the risk situation is completely the reverse for you. But the owner of the company that's hired the premises where business is being done, you might have signed a long-term lease and paid up a whole bunch of money. You might have bought expensive equipment that the company is using to do work, and then he's got payroll to pay, so he's on the hook for that. He can't claim business was bad this month, guys, so nobody's getting paid, right? So he's on the hook. So he's taking all these risks, and bad things might happen in the economy, and then rather than making money, the business loses money. So that's a big risk. Again, that risk, uh, you don't pay it because you are expecting to be paid no matter what happens. But for your employer, that risk is a bad thing, that if that happens to him and he makes a loss, that yeah, he still gotta pay everybody that's on the team. So the owner of the company is taking all these risks when you are in a job. Um, and so what happens also is that when time comes to get paid, the owner of the company is gonna take most of the upside, simply because everybody else is replaceable. But the owner of the company is somebody that's taking all the risk. They are not replaceable because if they literally shut down the business tomorrow and they move to a different country, that business might never be replaced, right? Like, that business might be lost forever. Like, you've seen this in certain countries, in Western countries, for example. There were businesses that started offshoring and moving to India, moving to Malaysia, moving to the Philippines, and it kind of hollowed out parts of the U.S. economy. You look at even European economies, same thing has happened. So where businesses have moved out, but nobody is able to literally just open up next door or open up in the same premises and take over, because that's risk taking. You need to have capital. You need to be willing and able to lose money if that that happens. So risk takers are not always easy to replace. But unfortunately, when you are just working as an employee, you are not really taking any of those risks. You are really not a risk taker in the situation. You're going for the safe, guaranteed thing. But unfortunately, that's where the wealth doesn't come that way. The wealth actually goes to the risk takers. The risk takers is who gets most of the wealth, because they are literally generating most of the wealth anyway. Because the guys that might be doing the actual work, uh, they are feeling a commodity raw. You know, they are feeling a commodity raw where their labor or their skill can be purchased on the market for a certain hourly rate. And so if this guy doesn't want to work, the owner can just go and hire somebody else to do the same kind of work with the same level of quality and the same level of output, right? Whereas this risk-taking role, putting your capital, putting your money, putting your resources on the line, that can be replaced. Then, for better or worse, that's where the bulk of wealth goes. So your boss is actually not gonna tell you as a result that if you are just relying on a job that you're not gonna make uh, much of the wealth or any of the wealth. Uh, in recent years, they've been complaining about how the disparity between the top CEOs and the average worker in the companies that they control, like the wage disparity is just grown so big, and this is part of it, is that there's a difference between the guys at the top who might be, maybe they have some ownership incentives and things like that. They are taking the characteristics of an owner, and so they actually make a lot more money, but they are making so much more than the guys doing the actual work. And in a lot of cases, in a lot of ways, it's very unfair, but it's something you need to be aware of. So given all that, what are you gonna do to actually produce wealth? And this is where I tell you that um, in reality, your boss is not telling you this, but starting your own side hustle is actually your own path to financial independence and your path to wealth. Because when you start a side hustle, of course, it's uncomfortable, but it's uncomfortable and scary for exactly the same reasons that starting the big business or company that you happen to be working for is scary. And why, like I pointed out before, the owner of the company has taken a lot of risks. Like they had to lease out premises, they had to come up with an idea, not knowing whether the idea is gonna make money, is gonna be a success. They could have lost their shit, and it's likely that before they started that successful business, that they actually did lose their shit on earlier businesses. And this is now what you have to do when you are starting a side hustle. Like you have to literally pick a business idea from scratch, and say like, I'm gonna do a side hustle, and you're gonna be scared. You're gonna have that bad feeling in your stomach, man. I could lose my money. I'm putting 5 grand on this thing. I'm trying to start a SaaS, software as a service. So I'm trying to start an e-commerce store. I could lose all this money. But because you're now taking risks, you are now in line to be compensated accordingly. If the business works, you are actually going to make most of the profits from that business, because you are now the owner. You are now the guy that's taking all the risks. You are not just an employee getting a guaranteed wage, a guaranteed salary anymore. And this is why, if you really want financial independence, your boss might not be telling you this, but starting your own side hustle is really the path to getting there. And it's something that I encourage people to do. The sooner you get started, the better. You're gonna make mistakes, you're gonna fail, it's inevitable. But the sooner you start, the sooner you make those mistakes, the sooner you're actually gonna get to the other side and have the lessons to actually be able to do it well. If you need some extra resources to help you in your journey, you can grab some of my free side hustle resources. The links will be in the description.